even with the nice rebound we had in the markets last week. We're still at the same spot we were 2 weeks ago, directly at an overhead resistance level. So this week we wanted to take a look at a leading indicator index to see if it provides any insight as to if this market has enough momentum to push through this resistance.
As Matt just mentioned, the U.S. markets were up nicely last week, with the Dow Jones up about 1.5% and the NASDAQ led the way up almost 4%. Now this past week led to all the U.S. markets being up double digits for the year. Foreign and emerging markets also had a nice week, with foreign markets up about 2.7% and emerging markets up about 3.5%. And just as the U.S. markets are, foreign and emerging markets are now both up over 10% for the year. Today we're looking at a chart of copper, and the reason we want to look at copper today is because it's a critical resource in the industrial world and it drives a lot of the economic growth in the United States. So when the price of copper is going up, that means that there's higher demand for this resource, it provides a lot of job growth, and it also provides significant contribution to local and national economies. I want to take a closer look at the blue line on this chart. Now the blue line was a support level that was put in place on copper from about the end of 2017 until the middle of 2018 before it broke down below this support level. Now that same level is a resistance level on copper. And if you look to the far right of the chart, you can see that's exactly where the price of copper is today. Now, if you look back at what the US markets did over the past 2 to 3 weeks, 2 weeks ago, we saw a sell-off in the overall US markets, but we saw a nice rebound last week. Now, when you're looking at this chart, you see that same thing. You see a sell-off 2 to 3 weeks ago on this copper index, but there wasn't nearly as much of a rebound as there was from the US markets as a whole. So, in our opinion, at this time, it doesn't seem like industrials and manufacturing are going to be the sector to push the US markets up above that resistance level. But we're keeping a close eye on copper and the industrials to see if this sector can gain some traction to hopefully give the US markets some momentum to push up above that resistance level and potentially make all-time highs.
Last week's news began with some new news on Brexit, and the UK has stepped in and voted to extend the Brexit deadline by 2 years, essentially bailing out Theresa May and the European Union because they haven't been able to come up with a deal in regards to how the UK is actually going to go and financially leave the European Union. Moving on to some other news from overseas last week, OPEC came out and stated that they're not going to be addressing production cuts at their April meeting. And it was first thought that they were going to look to increase oil production after their April meeting, but now they're looking to push that off into late into the fall. So that combined with what's going on with Venezuela could show that we're going to have higher oil prices for the foreseeable future. And lastly, the Fed announced last week that their balance sheet is officially under $4 trillion, which is the first time since 2014. So last week the Federal Reserve also stated that they're at normal levels for their balance sheet. But this upcoming week, there's a live Fed meeting.
And at this week's meeting, although we're not expecting the Fed to increase their interest rates right now, investors are going to be focused on what the plan is for interest rates in the future and also how they're going to continue to reduce their balance sheets.
If you're on Facebook, please give us a like on our video and share it. If you're on YouTube, also like our video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and we strive to give you everything that you need to know about the markets in 5 minutes or less.